Hello, everyone. Today we're going to talk about how to prevent solids buildup in your lagoons and control odor using ManureMagic. My name is Justin Whitley. I'm the livestock accounts manager with Drylet. I've been with the company since February of this year. Prior to that, I was working in nutrition sales, originally from North Carolina. My wife and I both, and we've been in Minnesota for almost 4 years now. So um, today, we're going to talk a little bit about ManureMagic. It's a different pit additive than probably what most of you are used to seeing and using. Different application process, different outcomes, and different results. So I'm going to play this video here at the beginning. I think most everybody in pork production in North Carolina probably have a shallow pit flush system using recycled water. This is a customer large integrator that use the product, treating their barns in between flushes, and you can see the results there. Significantly breaks down solids, liquefies the product that the manure that is in those shallow pits, and makes that flush out system go a whole lot quicker, a whole lot easier, and in the meantime is reducing the odor inside the barn as well. You can kind of see it almost looks like it's gonna suck the barn down with it through that flush out pipe. So obviously, if we can have better flush outs, maintain capacity, and reduce the amount of time and the number of times that we have to flush these barns, the better off that we are. So ManureMagic can work in any lagoon system, pull plug or flush system, however you want to call it. Quicker and better cleanouts, as you saw in the previous video there. Less line jetting, so if you have struvite buildup in your pipes from your barns to your lagoons, we're going to see more liquefied product going through even those pipes that are constricted by struvite. So we're not going to break up the struvite. That inorganic material is not going to be broken up by microbes that we add. But again, if you liquefy the manure that's in there, it's going to move through that system a lot easier. And generally, one application after each flush, if recycled water is not used. So if you're using recycled water, you're bringing those microbes back into the barn every time that you use that recycled water. If you're using fresh water, then you would need to do one application per flush. So in lagoon, similar situation, one annual application um, really helps as a maintenance dose to help manage the lagoon depth and incrementally reduce those sludge levels. Helps to reclaim lagoon capacity by breaking down some of those heavy solids that we all know have been there for years, and does not impact the nutrient value as we're pumping on.
We had a lot of odor. Every time it was a hot day, a southwest wind, it was in our house. A northwest wind or northeast wind, and the neighbors could smell it quite badly. It's been a problem, and it's made it hard to just live your life. I met the people from ManureMagic. I believed what they said, but I was still very leery because I've tried several products and they just have not performed. We are 8 weeks from when we put it in. I would say our odor's been killed by 90%. By the 4th of July, my daughter had a party here. We had a southwest wind. There were a lot of college kids. I was concerned that it would smell. They didn't even know we had an earthen basin over there or pigs on the farm.
So obviously, as we're all aware of at this point in time, odor is a subjective measure. As you can tell, our customer testimonial there was, we felt like it was 90%. Our university studies show 43%. So I think it's a subjective measure, but I can tell you from firsthand experience that well that there's a noticeable difference in odor. I think it's hard to put an actual percentage measurement on it, but I would say that the main takeaway is that it is a noticeable difference in odor. So just a quick overview of the things that we'll cover here. Kind of the nasty truth about manure management, some of the things that we don't always necessarily talk about, but we all know exist. We'll talk about what ManureMagic is, how it works, how it's used and applied, and then some case studies on some successes that we've had. So everybody knows, you can end up with buildup in barns of solids over time for sure. lost capacity in lagoons, those slow, inefficient flush outs that we talked about before, in showing that video at the beginning. If you do have a clog up of your lines in between, either the cost and the time of doing it yourself or the cost of having to call somebody out and do it, the significant cost involved in dredging these lagoons, and we'll talk about that more later. And obviously, something that nobody wants to talk about and get into, but it still exists, odor and complaints from neighbors. So what is ManureMagic? It is a dry product, in contrast to a lot of the liquid products on the market. It's a combination of two different ingredients: a dry, porous silica, food grade silica, combined with a liquid microbe culture, and then you end up with the product shown there in the video. So this is a electron microscope picture of the particle itself as an engineered porous media that actually has about 70,000 square feet of surface area per pound of product. So it's a significant kind of lattice work in the inside of these particles, and what the purpose of that and what that does is it allows the microbes to get on the inside of these particles, protects them from bacteriophages and predators, ensures the microbes are delivered through the sludge layer. And so the nature of the silica is that it's heavier than water. So the microbes are dried onto the silica, and then we put the product in your liquid lagoon, and it travels through the liquid layer and gets down to the sludge layer, where we need it to be. Whereas a lot of the liquid products, the specific gravity of those particular bacteria don't necessarily travel down through the liquid on their own, whereas we're able to accomplish that through the patented delivery system, of combining the silica and the liquid microbe cultures. So how do we apply it in barns? And I'll play this video as I kind of talk through it. But generally, again, only once per year in a system where you have recycle water. If you have to do fresh water, then you would need to dose, between each flush, 25 to 50 pounds per million gallons of lagoon capacity, depending on what your situation is, how bad your buildup may be. Apply the product in dry form, as you saw in the video there, across the slats, and then water it in is one way to do it. It's the easiest way to do it. When I have applied it in my personal barns, I had pigs in the barn, and so that becomes a little more difficult. It's not toxic to the pigs, but obviously whatever the pigs eat doesn't end up in the pit and isn't working for you. So what we did was just kind of pick several spots throughout the barn to try to get it as spread out as we could, dump it through the slats, and then water it in after the fact. We do want to stay away from disinfectant use, either before or after. Obviously, we are adding a live bacterial product, so we don't want to put, disinfectant is designed to kill bacteria, so we don't want to have those two things come in contact and be combined. So we want to stay at least 48 hours away from disinfectant when we're applying the product. Adding it into lagoons, that's actually my farm manager putting it in our lagoon in North Carolina there. So after washout, using lagoon recirculation, so we want to leave a little bit of material in those flushes between, so that we're kind of leaving some seed bacteria there that's ready to act on the incoming manure from the pigs above. But probably the easiest way is to dose from the lagoon bank. You can certainly get out on a boat and get it spread out more across the lagoon. But one of the side effects of adding this product into your lagoon is you're going to start to see significantly more turnover. I'm sure everybody has probably seen at some point in their lagoon, is if it's healthy and active, these small pockets of solids turnover, but you'll start to see a lot more of that after adding this product, and that kind of gives us a natural mixing ability as well. So treating it from the bank is an effective way. And again, the dosing recommendation is 25 to 50 pounds of product per million gallons of active volume, and that's going to be highly dependent on kind of what your situation is, what your total sludge level is at that time, and whether you know you're in a maintenance situation, or if you're actively trying to decrease those sludge levels. So this is a lead into a case study. This was with a major integrator who was using a couple different products, and we wanted to take on and prove that our product was in fact working better than the competitive product that they were using at the time. So here in 2020, all 4 of these lagoons were treated with ManureMagic, and then in 2021, half of them, or 2 of them, 2 out of the 4 were treated with ManureMagic, and the other 2 were treated with a liquid product noted as MB in the chart there. ManureMagic being noted as M2. So what TS and VS stand for is total solids and volatile solids. Total solids gives you a measure of everything, the inert solids as well as the volatile solids, which can be broken down. So the volatile solids is what we're after here. And you can see there in the 2 lagoons that got ManureMagic in back-to-back years, we were over 55% total solids reduction. Whereas in the other 2 lagoons, there was 35 and 23% reduction. So obviously a significant difference, especially between those 2 products. But the main takeaway is, we were able to, in a 2 to 3 year time frame, reduce the total solids in that lagoon by 55 and 57%. I will note that the baseline that we used here, so we actually, this was a project that was kind of done on the fly. So the baseline here was a lagoon that was completely untreated. Ideally, in a perfect world, we would have pre-treatment samples of each one of these lagoons, but we felt like these were all within a 1 square mile section. So same pigs, same environment, same diets. So we felt like picking one lagoon that had been completely untreated for that 2-year period was representative enough for us to make these comparisons. So also dramatically reduces COD and BFA, which are both proxies for improved treatments. Benefits derived from dryless biocatalyst technology, as well as correlated with solids reduction. And kind of the important takeaway there is these volatile fatty acids, or VFAs, as noted here, are part of the contributors to odor. So obviously, if we're reducing the VFAs, we're reducing the odor emitted from the lagoon as well. And to kind of give you an idea, there's a video here as well of our sludge survey method. So I know a lot of people, and I've done it on my lagoon as well, tend to lean towards sonar mapping to do your annual sludge survey. And while there are certainly benefits to that, it's easier to do. Nobody has to get out on a boat if you have the remote capabilities of doing it from the bank. There are certainly some inherently misleading characteristics of doing a sonar map. So part of the natural biological activity in these lagoons, and certainly once we add bacteria and microbes to that lagoon to enhance that biological activity, is off-gassing. And so as we see that off-gassing, as you can see in this video, and this was actually one of the lagoons that we mentioned in the previous slide, there's a significant amount of turnover going on in that lagoon. So you can imagine, if you're running a sonar boat across that lagoon at that time, not only in that pocket that we see there of turnover, but also across the whole lagoon, there's this lifting of solids because of the gases that are being produced as we're breaking down solids. So you run a sonar boat across there, and it's really not giving you a true indication of total solids compared to the entire lagoon. So what we have done, and we worked with Dr. Mahmoud Sharara at NC State to borrow their sampling device, and we kind of made some modifications in this particular situation because these lagoons were quite a bit deeper. Um, but we were able to take a true composite core sample of the lagoon, including the liquid fraction as well as the entire sludge layer. So going around and getting a true composite sample of this lagoon, getting different samples across the whole lagoon, we're able to look at, okay, so if we were to take this whole lagoon and mix it up and then take samples, this will give us an idea of what the total solids is and what the volatile solids is, and then we can look at it later on and see how much of that was destroyed. So that was kind of the maintenance discussion on using ManureMagic to maintain lagoon levels, incrementally reduce sludge layer. And now we're going to talk a little bit about biological dredging, and how it can be the answer to a lot of the sludge issues that we're all too familiar with. So how Drylet can help, we can be the biological dredging solution. So it's a zero capex solution. It's not something where you're going to have to put in a solid separator on the side of your lagoon or anything like that. No upfront expensive equipment cost. This is a product where we can come in and reclaim lagoon capacity with no disruption to your wastewater treatment, and establish a healthy microbial population in lagoons to destroy that volatile solids fraction and regain capacity. Avoid excessive mechanical dredging expenses. I think we all know that can be upwards of $250 per dry ton to get that accomplished. And avoid hauling and disposal of biosolids, which is certainly a huge issue in eastern North Carolina, being able to find fields to put the sludge on. And we think this is a sustainable long-term biosolids management solution. So what we would do in these situations, this was a rendering facility, so not exactly a hog farm, but still comparable in how they manage their waste and manage their lagoons. Drylet dosed 1,800 pounds of bioreact. We utilize an industrial mixer to come in and mix the lagoon beforehand. So we take samples at that point again, so we have that composite idea of what the total solids is in the lagoon at that point in time. Treat the lagoon, mix it again, and then we would come back and take samples again, roughly 120 days later. So in addition to obviously the qualitative improvements you can see, we wanted to have quantitative results to go along with that as well. So taking those samples before and taking those samples after that 120-day period showed us that we were able to reduce the total solids in that lagoon by 51% and reduce the volatile solids by 50%. So a total reduction of 469 dry tons of solids. And so that comes out to, based on the amount of product that we added, 521 pounds of total solids removed per pound of bioreact that was added into these lagoons. And fits well within the ratio that we would normally see in these systems, which can be anywhere from 250 to 1,000 pounds of total solids reduction per pound of drylet added. Similarly, in this case, again, mixed, treated, and then mixed again. In this particular lagoon, we saw a reduction of 58% on total solids and 60% reduction on volatile solids. And again, this was taken a snapshot in time. So this was 120 days after treatment. It's not like the biological activity stops at that point. Obviously, it continues. So this was only measured at 120 days, we would expect the bacterial activity and that total solids reduction to continue to grow over time. And so this kind of leads into the conversation about doing this biological dredging compared to what your mechanical dredging would cost. We all know, and through a lot of Dr. Sherrar's work at NC State, that there is a fraction of solids in these lagoons that is completely inert, that cannot be broken down. But just for an example's sake, if you have to remove, let's just say 1,000, for simple figuring, 1,000 dry tons from your lagoon, we're very confident that we can come in and take out a fraction of those at a cheaper rate rather than doing the entire lagoon at the higher rate. So if you can take out half of it at $100 a ton and the other half at $200 a ton versus all of it at $200 a ton, there's still a lot of savings to be had there. So that is pretty much what I wanted to present today. I would welcome any questions. My email and my cell phone number are there on the screen. So if anybody has any questions or would like any more information, feel free to reach out at any time. Thank you guys for your time.